Violence is self-defeating. He who lives by the sword will perish by the sword.
You know, when you construct a man as a great man, there's nothing almost more satisfying than also seeing him as the opposite.
When the National Archive puts government documents up on the web, one has to confront them.
Tapes from the hotel rooms, FBI reports, those are pieces of information that we shouldn't have. The FBI was most alarmed about King because of his success.
He realized how sick this country was. We were trying to reveal the truth about segregation.
J. Edgar Hoover is famous for saying that he feared the rise of a black messiah.
The FBI says it's clear Martin Luther King Jr. is the most dangerous Negro in America, and we have to use every resource at our disposal to destroy him.
J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI for 48 years.
The FBI's focus was collecting salacious sexual material of King with various girlfriends.
Hoover had made the speech that Martin Luther King was the world's most notorious liar.
Now, what am I going to do about Martin Luther King? It looks to me like he's too far north.
This was a way that they could bring down a very influential black civil rights leader and contain the movement.
The FBI mailed a tape of Dr. King with other women to him and to Coretta with an advice that he should go kill himself.
The greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
Staying calm under fire is very hard when people are trying to kill you.
Anybody who was to the left of mainstream in civil rights was deemed a subversive.
They use surveillance in order to
foment violence,
break apart these organizations.
They were running a surveillance state.
This represents the darkest part of the Bureau's history.
Okay.
What's going on? How's your son, man?
Oh, he's good. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Let me, can I, oh, just one question, Danielle, is this your window is showing. There we go. Thank you. Anyway, I appreciate it. How you doing?
Hey, man, not bad. Hanging in.
It's been quite a year.
Yeah, not bad. You know how things are.
Well, for most people, I do. You are perhaps going into a really, really busy few weeks here, a winter that's going to be all about Sam Pollard.
Well, I got another film opening up in about 3 weeks, man.
I don't even want to hear. I don't know. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to.
You got
after MLK FBI.
Yeah, man. MLK FBI opens.
Something's wrong with this guy.
Premieres tomorrow, January 15th, right?
I know.
And then on February 9th on HBO, another film that I finished I'm finishing it as we speak, called Black Art in the Absence of Light, premieres on HBO. Yeah.
When we talked, I don't remember, the last time was not that long ago, but we talked about, who knows, but it was leading up to MLK. And I remember we touched on that. And then you also mentioned the Black Art film. So
yeah,
that's coming out on February 9th, HBO. Okay, I made a note for that. That's good. But let's talk about MLK FBI. Plus, there's a retrospective tribute.
Yeah.
That films at the film at Lincoln Center is
going
to be also starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is there a convergence here, though? One thing I probably could figure out, I couldn't figure out on my own, but So IFC is distributing, IFC Films rather, is distributing MLK FBI, but it's launching this retrospective as well. So
yeah, man.
Right. So people can go to the film at Lincoln Center virtual
you can
site
go virtual,
and watch that starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the tribute, which includes 2 trains, Sammy Davis Jr. of Gotta Be Me, Maynard, and When the Levees Broke. Just an amazing.
You know, what can I say? What can I say, Adam?
Documentary cinema at its finest, everybody. It's amazing. I think you come on maybe for most of those films, except maybe not the Spike Lee, but.
Yeah, you know, I directed, of the films you named, I directed 3 of them.
Yeah, I know.
The other one I'm a producer on.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And I'm going to also try to slim it at the very end, Going Back to T-Town, which you co-produced, because I just got to watch that. I had not seen it back in the 90s when it came out.
Where'd you see that at?
Well, you know, I have my ways.
All right. Because that's, you know, that's going to be on the American Experience next month too.
I know. That's why I'm kind of saying this is getting out of hand. What happened to all the other documentary filmmakers? They're just,
I don't know,
they just went into early retirement. And you just,
yes.
Well, we were talking about, I did see MLK FBI at the New York Film Festival on my couch.
Good.
Which, you know, I upgraded my screen. I've since upgraded the audio here in my home upstate now. And it's like I'm having cinematic experiences. So I was able to enjoy MLK FBI.
Good.
You know, in a nice way. So virtually. So while we're not in theaters, we're still managing to appreciate such a film.
Thank you.
When did you tell a little bit about the origin story of that, of MLK? We know that the FBI, of course, was after him. They were blackmailing him. They were trying to take him down. They were conspiring.
Well, we came up with the idea originally from a book we read by the historian David Garrow, who's in the film. He had written a book about King and the FBI and Hoover. And both myself and my producer, Ben Hadeen, we both read the book, and we thought this would be our next film actually, because we had done 2 Trains Running together. So we reached out to David Garrow, took an option out on his book. Then we flew out to Pittsburgh where he lives. We got a camera crew. We went to his house, Adam, and we spent about 4 hours with him. Basically him talking about the contents of the book, you know, the relationship of King with the FBI and the intense relationship. And that interview that we did with David sort of became the framework of the film. And you can, as you know, a lot of his voice is in the film. Then we put together a sizzle reel, and we put together a budget and a proposal, and we started beating the bushes, trying to raise the money. And we didn't get any really feelers until early 2019. 2 companies, Field of Vision and Play Action, both came in with the major funding for the film, which enabled us to then go in the fall and interview Clarence Jones, Andy Young, 2 historians, Beverly Gage and Donna Murch, and 2 FBI people, former agent named Chuck Knox, who's based in Texas. And then Ben suggested we reach out to James Comey. And I initially said, "You think he'll do an interview?" And he says, "Why not give it a shot?" So we reached out to Comey, and to my surprise, he said yes.
Well, an interview where he doesn't have to talk about Trump. It sounds refreshing and welcome, I can imagine.
And it was initially supposed to be on camera, and then he wasn't able to do it on camera. And so we did an audio interview with him, which was about 20-25 minutes, and we were able to get some good stuff out of it. And I think the thing that's most interesting is his statement that this chapter to him was the darkest period in the history of the FBI from his perspective. You know, so, and again, the other thing that's interesting too, Adam, this is one of the first documentaries that I have done as a director where I hadn't gone out and interviewed 25 people and then with it got it down to 15. This time we only interviewed like Comey, Knox, Murch, Gage, David Garrow, Clarence Jones, Andy Young, and then we interviewed one other person. 8 people. That's all we ever interviewed. The hotel, the whole story. You know.
Wow. How does that impact the film? Does it?
I think it really helped it. I think by having these only 7 voices really primarily tell the story, I think it keeps you engaged. And the fact that you don't see them on camera, if you had put them on camera, you would have felt, wow, there's not many people here. What's the, you know, how far can this story, how deep can the story be? I think by having the people as voiceover and having the audience really get engaged in the visual material and the audio material from that period was a real sort of creative, you know, sort of moment where you say the audience will, if the audience is really into this material, they won't want to see anybody on camera. They don't want to have the spell broken. They will be engaged in the material.
Did you work backwards from Comey then, in the sense of, were you originally planning on having them on camera, your 6 other talking heads, and then you lost Comey's visuals and you thought, well, maybe we should try? It was always the idea?
Always the idea, even before we
so no wonder. Okay.
Yeah, even before we even did the interview with Garrow, I had said to Ben, this should be a film where no one's on camera, because I had seen in 2011 that documentary Black Power Mixtape.
Oh, sure.
Swedish filmmaker, and the thing that really engaged me and it got me engrossed in the material is the fact that I never saw anybody on camera. I'm just into the footage of the 70s. And then you have people like Angela Davis and Belafonte and others talking, but you don't see them on camera. And that was sort of my idea. And also when I did the Sinatra doc, All or Nothing at All, that Gibney directed, nobody was on camera in that one. Because we had hours and hours of audio from Sinatra that Tina Sinatra had done with her father when she did that mini-series on TV. And she sat down with a tape recorder and had Sinatra basically tell her his life. And so we used only audio, and then we did the interviews for Sinatra with other people. We didn't shoot anybody on camera. It was all audio interviews.
I wonder if the average person even really cares.
I don't think they do.
I don't think so.
And it's happening more and more. You know, the Belushi documentary
that's
out, the Belushi documentary that RJ did, the documentary about Bruce Lee, nobody's on camera.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's on camera.
Well, because the figures, the subjects are so
compelling,
you know, larger than life. You just don't really require. Yeah, it's. Is MLK Jr. Day? Is that Monday?
Monday. Yeah, Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
What a coincidence. So I mentioned a little bit going into it that I mean, I'm familiar with this side of the story, but what, if anything, did you surprise you? Maybe if I don't know if you can experience surprises anymore, if anybody can anymore. But were there any surprises as you were making this? Did you find out anything new that sort of, you know, you didn't predict?
The biggest surprise, you know, is how dastardly the FBI, how far they would go to discredit Dr. King. I mean, it's one thing to wiretap him because they think he's a member of the Communist Party, or he's flirting with the Communist Party because of his relationship with Stanley Levinson. But it's another thing to eavesdrop on his personal life, and then to use that personal material and send it to his wife, and then to create a letter basically intimating that this man should maybe consider killing himself. I mean, that's pretty disgusting, you know, Adam, pretty low.
Yeah. He was is it true that that the FBI were trying to urge MLK to commit suicide, also Coretta?
Well, I don't know if it's Coretta so much, but the way I read the letter is they want King to commit suicide. That's the way I read it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Okay, I thought I had heard recently that that she was also you know, they also contacted her separately. But you think that my God, that he would, you know?
I've never heard that, but you know, listen, I wouldn't put it past them.
And the film premiered at, was it Toronto?
It premiered at Toronto. It premiered at the New York Film Festival. It was on Telluride's list of films, even though they didn't have a festival. You know, it's played in a bunch of festivals around the country. It's really, you know, I was saying to someone, you know, I've done a lot of films, but I never had a film get so much love right out of the gate. You know, I mean, it's been pretty phenomenal, man. And I think that, you know, this process of getting the film out there has been fantastic in terms of what IFC has been doing with this film. I got to applaud the creativity in getting this film out to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's were you originally hoping to? I was going to say it's such a challenging time to release it. It's been such a challenging time to release a film, but now it's sort of normal. It's been a year or close to a year where we've been,
you know, we kind of hoped, you know, I mean, I would be honest, I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say to you, we had hoped that by this point there'd be, you know, some theaters, and I think there will be. I mean, not New York, no, but I think in other states there are theaters that are open that people can go see it, but you can also stream it. So, right. I mean, one of the things I said to the folks who are supporting this film and helping get this film out there, my biggest hope is that as many people as possible see it. If that means virtually, yes. If that means some going to theaters, yes.
Right.
But I really want as many people as possible to see the film.
Well, I think a lot of people will see it. I hope, and I certainly will urge people to do it. And so again, that's going to be MLK FBI in virtually streaming as well as in theaters
around the country.
I guess you can go to IFC Films website to see which virtual cinemas you can see it on, if that's the way you want to go.
I think you would have to. I mean, you know, technically, I don't know how that's done, but I guess, you know, Danielle can tell you.
Yeah, if you're Danielle, if you want to pop in, feel free, because I want to make sure people know how to best, you know, see the film. It's because I could be at film at Lincoln Centers. Anyway, regardless,
the films at Lincoln Centers are all virtual too.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that. And then, so all of the retrospective as well as MLK FBI is going to be on their virtual site, and that should be pretty easy to find. Film at Lincoln Center. Now. So okay. Now, if I think we might have a few minutes here. I just wanted to talk about this film. It's another story that just seems to 30 years after the telling, almost 28 years to be specific. I think this film, which is going to be on American Experience on the 8th of February on PBS.
T-Town is
going. Yeah. Thanks for.
You know more. You know more than I do. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I'm wired in. I've got all the contacts. So going back to T-Town, this is a story also I was familiar with, but I didn't realize there were kind of like there were waves of, and we're sort of watching it today and seeing the ways of racism, of racial discrimination, of bigotry that run through this country, and now. Not that it ever ends, but when I say the waves, I just mean it gets to a certain point where it's everything. It's sort of encompassing our the conversation, the national conversation, now more than ever. So seeing the film kind of brings it back. This was a city, Tulsa, Oklahoma, in the 20s, which was actually a park, Greenwood, which is I guess like a section of Tulsa, right?
It was a segregated community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that had sort of people were self-contained, had their own businesses and stuff, and were segregated, but they were able to thrive and grow. And as you saw in the film, there was this, you know, this rumor that a young black man had accosted this white woman,
right?
Which was again the thing that lit the match that lit the flame, you know, and
literally in this case.
Yeah, and they went into the community and they burned it to the ground and killed people. Again, and you know, the thing that you probably realize as you're watching it, what we saw last week at the attack on the Capitol, Adam, is not an anomaly. It's in part of American history. It's part of DNA. Anytime a group of people, extremists, basically say, we don't like what's going on, we're going to go in there and tear it down and destroy it and lynch people. And it's been happening in Black communities for years. And that's what you see in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. You know, one moment is a moment to go in and destroy a community. It happened later in Rosewood in Florida. You know, it happened in 1898 in Wilmington, North Carolina. I mean, it's a part of this country's sort of DNA where they say, if we don't like it, we're going to tear it down. We're going to destroy it. You know, it's frightening.
And by the way, this May will be the 100th anniversary of the massacre in Tulsa that we're talking about. And then, but what's also particularly disturbing, because these are issues we've really never reconciled, not really, enough to maybe placate or make certain people feel good about themselves, but we've never really dealt with it straight on, and certainly not nearly enough. But what's particularly disturbing, and again, you mentioned last week, no difference from what happened in 1921, is that there were also the very people that are supposed to protect us, our police, they were part of the, they were involved. So it's 100 years, and it's depressing as hell. Not the film, but the subject matter, because we haven't made very much progress in those 100 years.
No,
as it turns out.
Good that you said, Adam.
Yeah, but thanks for filmmakers like yourself who are reminding us, you know, and kind of couching it in the form of entertainment, but.
I call it an important history lesson.
So then the last thing, I think we have a minute or so or two left. Maybe this is good, because typically I have you on and I just kind of ramble on with you.
Usually you and I are together for a couple of hours, man.
Well, on a good day, but that's when we break out the bourbon.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I don't mean that.
We had a great meeting. What was that upstate town we met in? What town?
Oh yeah, that's nearby. Rosendale?
Yeah, we met there and had that restaurant, and then you came.
My son was there, yeah. I remember that was what you showed. That was when I saw 2 trains running.
Yeah, and then you came to NYU once where your tape recorder wasn't working or something.
I didn't bring it.
That's why you forgot it.
Forgot my equipment. You have a good memory. Thanks. I'm going to admit at this juncture, because when I came to NYU the second time, we talked about Sammy Davis and Maynard, because they were released kind of together. But anyway, I also had a techno. The time at the Woodstock Film Festival at Rosendale went smoothly without a hitch, but almost every time I've had like a technical problem. It's like Mercury in retrograde, but I'm not going to look at it as a negative thing. I'm going to look at it as
look at it as a positive, man.
You're one of my favorite people that I've had. That's why I keep asking to bring you back on.
I always enjoy talking to you, man. Always enjoy it.
All right, so MLK FBI, catch that virtually, and I'll have all the details and links in the show notes for sure, and they'll be accurate. And then check out the tribute to or the retrospective of Sam's 5 or 6 films, 4 or 5 films. 5 films. They're also going to be showing throughout the next week from the 15th through the 22nd of January. And then we'll remind people in February about the American Experience documentary, Going Back to Tea.
And also the HBO one too, man.
And then the HBO one on February 9th.
That's right.
The next day.
Yeah.
So we'll do another one. We'll talk about the Black art in a few weeks.
Okay, cool.
We'll do it again.
All right.
All right.
Danielle, you there?